Please be seated. We continue with the prosecution's case. Please call your next witness.
Prosecution would like to call Sean Dennis.
Sean Dennis, place your left hand here, the left hand, and raise up your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Sean Dennis.
I, Sean Dennis.
I, Sean Dennis.
I, Sean Dennis.
Do swear that
Do swear that
the evidence I shall give in this court,
the evidence I shall give in this court,
now pending in Kyrenia,
now pending in Kyrenia,
before the judge,
before the judge,
Becky Shahinolu,
delegation
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
Help me God.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Sean Dennis.
Okay. Officer Dennis?
Yes.
Okay. What is your relationship with Officer Smith?
Officer Smith is my former partner. We were working together in my police department.
Okay. How long did you guys work together?
For 2 years.
Did you get to know Officer Smith? How was his... Sorry, let me rephrase that. Can you please tell the court about Officer Smith's character during working hours?
Well, Officer Smith is a good guy, but with regards to his job duties, he was far from being a perfect example of a police officer's ethics. But sometimes he was in habit of going off the side routes. Most of the time we spent on the cases involving Africans, he was always biased. Sometimes he even let other white criminals escape from the crime scene. But with Africans he was always strict in even tried to book them for smallest offenses. It was not a problem for him to catch the bad guy in his interpretation.
Did you get to know Officer Smith outside work?
Yes, sometimes we were hanging out with our other fellow officers. Officer Smith was often doing racial statements. Other police officers didn't like it, and they found such a behavior unbecoming of the police officer, and they even tried to minimize the time spent with him.
Okay, so you're saying that other officers even had these racial statements?
Yes, it's true.
Okay, no further questions, John.
Officer Sean Dennis. You were Officer Smith's partner.
Yes.
He was involved in several cases.
Pardon?
He was involved in several cases. Okay. Are you still in the police force?
Yes.
You just stated initially that he was involved in several cases. He must have been very hardworking.
Beg your pardon?
He was very hardworking.
Yes.
Okay. Superior officers must have seen him as competent.
Yes, I did.
Are you friends with him? Were you friends?
No, we just were working, we were partners, just usual relations, not much.
Okay. You mentioned that other officers had problems with their statements.
Didn't like it, they told before they found such behavior unbecoming of officer, unbecoming of police officers' ethics.
Can you mention one of the officers?
One of such
Yeah.
statements?
One of the officers that had issues with the statements.
Actually, it was quite a while ago, I don't remember exactly.
Officer Sean Dennis. You can't remember exactly the officers that had problems with the statement, but you can remember the statements that I made.
Objection, my lord.
I was just wondering.
Action, my lady. There is no use of any response he's going to give. If she's asking for the names of officers, is she going to bring the officers to the court and confirm their statement? So,
Your Honor,
please.
since Officer Sean Dennis can establish that my client made racial statements, if you remember the racial statements for a very long time, I think you should also be able to remember the names of the officers that made.
But he has
the
already
statement.
mentioned the fact that he is unable to remember names. So this question has been asked and has been answered.
Officer Sean Dennis, you can't remember names.
He's already answered that, he cannot. Please move on with your question.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. But you can remember events in detail. Can't you?
I told you it was quite a while ago. Actually, it was made in company with other fellow officers, so that's fact.
You said it was made in some occasions. You said it was made in some occasions.
Yes.
Like, can you remember like approximately how many occasions it was made?
Where on duty?
Objection, my lord. Several occasions. So there's no point asking different occasions. Several.
The witness may answer if you can remember where these statements took place. If not, then we shall move on with the question.
Several times when we were off duty.
Can you please phrase one of the statements?
It's quite hard. Kind of, I fed up all these legs. Kind of this. It's one of.
Could it be that you have you had any medical issue with your ability to remember things? You don't?
My memory is clear.
Your memory is clear. And you can't remember any of the occasions that this happened. Neither could you remember the names of the officers.
Objection, Your Honor. You already stated that they had drinks after work, and like the owner already said that you already answered the question about the
Your
names
Honor,
of the.
I was simply asking about one of the statements, just one of the statements.
And the witness has already mentioned that he cannot remember exactly what was said, but something along the lines of what the witness said. Okay, so the objection is sustained. Please move on with the question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sean Dennis, while in the police force, you swore an oath as a policeman. You were supposed to be the friend of the society and protect the society against any offense, weren't you?
Yes, that's why I'm certain.
Okay. Did you report any of the statements made?
No.
Officer Sean Dennis, you swore an oath to the police to protect the society, right?
Yes.
While everything was happening, you never reported, right?
Objection, my lord. The defense is in the attitude of repeating questions and trying to confuse my witness here. So I plead that my witness be excused, because there's no relevance.
These questions have been asked and they have been answered.
Your Honor, we're trying to establish that if Officer Sean Dennis swore an oath to the police,
And you have mentioned this.
Yes.
And he has said that he has not reported it. So you need to move on with this question.
okay, Officer Sean Dennis, is there a probability that since you were not loyal to the oath you swore to the police, is there a probability that your loyalty is questionable? You were meant to protect the public, Officer Sean Dennis, and you never reported this to anyone. Was that professional? Officer Sean Dennis.
Wait for the witness to answer the question, please.
I wasn't think that it's necessary because he's my partner. I try to respect him. So that was his personal attitude. So
At the
I
detriment-
was not involved in it.
At the detriment of the public and your profession. At the detriment of the public and your profession. Thank you very much for that question.
Are there any questions for redirect?
So, Officer Dennis, please could you tell the court if you had any personal grievances with Officer Smith in the past? Have you had any grievances? Have you had any problems with Officer Smith?
No, as I said, just normal working relations. Normal.
Okay. And what was the result, and how did you guys stop being partners?
I was transferred to another department.
Okay, you were transferred to another department.
Yes.
And also, would you also like to tell the court the reasons why I believe why you were partners with Officer Smith? You had a superior officer who was in charge of you. You had a superior officer, the inspector in the police department that gave you that supervised all the activities and events and all your acts, right? So is it? Can you tell the court if the supervising officer was aware?
That's an irrelevant issue. It doesn't refer to the cross-examination. The issues brought up in the cross-examination.
And Your Honor, the defense actually claimed that Officer Smith didn't report such acts or such racial bias to the police authority. So it's of my opinion that if the training officer was aware of such acts, Officer Smith and Sean Dennis didn't have any right to make any further reports, or it was left to the superior officer to take cognizance of such racial acts and make the same.
I see the relevance of this question. The objection has been overruled. You may answer the question.
So I can. Our department was not very big, so it was quite clear. Everybody knows about it.
So everybody is on it. Thank you. Now we'll-
The witness is excused. Thank you very much.
I would like to call Mrs. Peters Crowley.
Mrs. Peters Crowley, please place your left hand near your left hand and raise it. Repeat after me. I, Mrs. Peters Crowley.
I, Mrs. Peters Crowley,
Do swear that
do swear that
the evidence I shall give in this court
the evidence I shall give in this court
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Please state your name for the record.
I'm Mrs. Peters Crowley.
Okay. The incident that happened on the 9th of July happened in your shop.
Yes, it did.
The defense claimed that the owner of the shop is male. Can you tell us about it?
I'm the owner of the shop, Mrs. Peters Crowley, and the shop is in my name. I bought this building like about 10 years after I got out of jail. Yeah. And I have the particulars in case the court wants to see it.
Okay. Did you know the victims in this case?
Yes, my name is Tyler. He was my shop attendant. I've known him for 6 years now. 6 years.
Okay. Can you tell the court what happened on the 9th of July?
On the 9th of July, I resumed work as usual, and I was outside washing my plants while Tyler was inside helping to get ready for a day's business. And I saw a cop car parked just outside the store. Then the cop came out and we exchanged pleasantries while I continued watering the plants, and I entered to get some stuff in the store. So like a few minutes later, I started hearing noises from the store, and I wanted to check to see what was happening. Then I moved close to the door, and I was able to see the officer exchanging words with Tyler. And just when I was able to I was trying to get a clear view of what was happening, another cop tried to prevent me from entering my own store. Like, I felt it strange at that moment. Why would I prevent him from entering my own store? So just that moment, when he was trying to prevent me from entering, I heard like a loud bang, like a gunshot, there and then. And a few minutes later, when I was granted entrance into my own store, I saw like very gruesome picture of my life. I saw like a long pool of blood, just that minute. And I must say, like, I'm trying to get rid of that picture right now. Tyler had been shot down by this policeman. A defenseless young black kid had been shot down by a policeman. I must say, it's a really horrible sight. I'm trying to get rid of it now.
Do you have anything else to tell the court?
Well, I have a lot to say because last time, because Tyler was a very good kid, was a really good kid, and it was just like any 15-year-old out there. Like he would never even hurt a fly. It was just trying to make ends meet. Like he was the backbone of his family, and a murderer shouldn't be allowed to work freely amongst us, and more so a murderer shouldn't be allowed to even protect us.
Okay.
How is the mother supposed to protect us in the first place?
Thank you, Mrs. Peter. No further questions.
How do you do, Mrs. Crowley? So, yeah, from your statement to the police, you said you were watching the plants
Yes.
when Officer Smith entered into the store. Is this correct?
Yes, very correct.
Are you in the habit of leaving your clients unattended?
No, at all. And besides, I trust Tyler to an extent, so I always leave him to attend to the clients whenever I have something really demanding to do, like watering my plants, of course, because I like my plants. A very good, yeah.
There's a little issue I'm not quite clear about, and you said, my learned colleague here said in his opening statement that Tyler assisted you, and I don't quite understand. What do you mean assist you? Was he your employee?
No, I wouldn't call him an employee because we have like a definite agreement or contract we signed.
So what exactly was Tyler doing for you?
Tyler, I just like hired him to work in my store, and I paid like little stipends, not like as an employee or something.
Are you aware that Tyler was 15 years old?
Of course.
Are you aware that you are not authorized by law to employ a person under the age of 16?
Well, it's not like unusual to find a black kid like trying to work.
A black kid?
Yeah.
I move on. How did you know him? How you said you've known him for 6 years?
Yes.
So you knew him since he was 9 years. How did you know him?
Yeah, we attend the same church.
So his sister Grace Whitefield would know him.
Well, I was not like really in relation with his sister, but I think I've seen her in the church with Tyler. But Tyler was known by everyone. He was like a very happy kid, and he would even help the elderly ones in the church, to, like for example cross the road and everything. I was able to get to know him through that.
Certainly his mother would know you.
His mother, yeah, like I've met her once or twice, yeah.
So you take a 9-year-old in, give him some chores to do, pay him for it without meeting his mother.
I've met the mother, like I said, once in the church. That was when we wanted to talk about her and Tyler. I've met her like once or twice, I can't really remember, but we usually exchange pleasantries in the church.
So in Grace Whitefield's testimony, they were always together, so probably you met her too, and
probably I met the mother.
You met Grace Whitefield. It's not possible that you met the mother, Grace Whitefield. He's been working for you for up to 6 years, and nobody in his family can really testify to this.
Like I said, I've met Grace Whitefield before.
Objection. Definitely, the claim that Grace Whitefield wasn't aware is wrong, because Grace Whitefield stated that she knew that Tyler, at the end of school in the day, went to the Salamis room, where the store owner was situated. So she was aware, she had made the claim. So Your Honor, if I'm correct, and if they have the kind of relationship she said they have, it would have been something Grace Whitefield would have openly disclosed to the court, because she would know, if being advised by the prosecution, that it would be beneficial to this.
The witness has already stated the extent of the relationship with both Tyler, the mother, and the sister. So please move on in your line of questioning.
Did you register him with the Department of Social Security?
I did not.
You made inquiries and you're right, there was no such record. Did you notify income tax department? Probably you giving him money, you have a security duty to tax him.
Objection, Your Honor. Please state your objection.
Our witness has already stated that there was no legal contract of employment, that Tyler was just simply assisting her, not any full-time employee.
I would tend to agree. Objection sustained. The question has been asked and answered.
Moving on. So, what were Tyler's working hours? When did he come to work? And when did he leave?
Yeah, Tyler worked from 9 to 12, then took like 2 hours break, then from 3 to 4.
Every day?
Like, he had 3 days and he could come and go anytime because it was not like he was actually employed. Just he could come and go anytime he wanted. And I was fine with that.
Certainly, if I go by your first statements, 9 to 12, take break, and certainly Tyler would, he has the schedule of a paid employee, 9 to 12 takes breaks, but I'm gonna move on. And so, he said he's been working with you for, what, 9 to 12 in the morning or in the night?
In the morning.
In the morning, so he didn't go to school, Tyler didn't go to school.
Tyler, like, there were times I had holidays, and there were times that he could not like afford to pay fees, and then he would like probably skip semesters or terms.
So Tyler skipped school to work?
Yeah, like I said, was
Thank you very much.
working. Yeah.
Mrs. Crowley, what was the distance between where you were standing and where you said the so-called incident happened?
It was like about, it was just a few meters, like.
How many meters? You said few meters, can you just...
Like from the door to the counter to like about a few meters, I can't really place the definite.
Okay, can you give us like, just something to think about?
She is not aware of the distance, and she is not an expert in measurement of distance. She is just a normal shop owner carrying on the business.
Councillor is just asking for a general understanding of the distance. I believe that you can answer.
That it was about roughly 2 meters.
So what's the distance between where I'm standing and where you were standing?
But I can't really tell.
You can't really tell, thank you. So, Mrs. Crowley, you said during direct examination in chief that you have a lot to say. Yet, looking at your police statement, your statement to the police, a statement that was made when your memory was more fresher than now, you had just a very short paragraph to say, and your statement was quite vague. So, I don't understand how all of a sudden you have a lot to say. And I see, that was my question.
Objection.
This is my question. That was not the question, this is my question. I see a loophole in your statement to the police because you didn't say anything about Officer Chris Knight. Now all of a sudden you remember Officer Chris Knight. Can you explain how he comes into your story?
Well, I don't know how you got your facts, but in my statement to the police, I actually wrote everything as it happened. I wrote about, because someone actually tried to prevent me, and I knew to the court because I was wearing a uniform, and I later discovered that it was Officer Chris, Officer Smith's partner. So, like, I wrote that one. It's not like I have like something on my memory or something.
Mrs. Crowley, is this your statement?
Yes.
This is her statement. In your statement to the police, you said the police is trying to cover up something. Can you shed more light on this? What do you think the police is trying to cover up?
Because a cop was trying to prevent me from entering my store. I thought it's strange that I was able to prevent from entering my own store because I was trying to know what's happening. Because if anything's happening in my store, it would be on my neck, definitely. I'm the owner of the store. So I was trying to ascertain what was happening.
It will be on your neck. Okay, I'll move on. Do you understand that it's the duty of the police to protect other individuals, to protect property, and to prevent crime?
I'm very much aware. That's why I'm like really shocked that the policeman will even gone down.
So you find it strange that the police officer will tell you to lie flat away from because you said you heard shoutings, and you find it strange that the policeman is even trying to protect you?
Yeah, I thought it was strange because there was no like robbery, because in most cases it would be when there's exchange of maybe firearms or anything. That's when the police will tell you to maybe bend down or do anything like that. But then I thought it's strange that nothing of that nature happened. and the police was trying to tell me to bend down, trying to prevent me from entering my own store. I thought it was really, really awkward, to be sincere.
Awkward. Okay. So you said. So I know that we are all conversant with how the movies go and how your shop is in a place where there's very high crime rate. So obviously you will know how a shooting goes. So when there's a shooting, is it normal for people to try to hide behind something to shield themselves?
Objection, my lord.
Safety objection.
That will sound immaterial to this fact. To this fact issue.
Your Honor, I'm just trying to establish whether it's possible for her to have seen from the door what was happening.
I will allow it. Please answer the question.
Yeah, like I said, like I was prevented from entering the store. What I could actually see then was Officer Smith and Tyler exchanging words. And before I could really get a full view of what was happening, I was prevented from actually like getting the full picture of what was happening.
Thank you very much for that. According to your statement, Mrs. Crowley, you said you heard shout. You didn't see them shouting. You didn't see them exchanging words. You said you heard them exchanging words, and you said you saw him shoot. Now you're saying that you saw them exchanging words and you didn't see him shoot. Okay. Yeah, I see an inconsistency in your testimony.
It is quite evident that Mrs. Peters Crowley was affected by the sight of seeing Tyler in his blood. So her statement to the police at that time, it did not really reveal the true facts. But later on, as you can see, if you have the proper police statement she made later on after she had gathered herself, she mentioned that she saw these things and she's saying it right now.
Your Honor, what my learned colleague here is trying to say is that the court disregard the statement, the testimony being given here by Mrs. Peter Crowley.
The objection is going to be overruled. You can ask the question again. The witness must answer.
You said in your statement to the police that you heard shout, that attracted your attention, and you came in and you saw him being shot in cold blood. You didn't see any other thing, you saw him being shot. But right now you're saying that you saw them exchanging words and you heard the bang. You didn't quite see because you were prevented by the other policeman. Am I right?
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Even though I was like emotionally shocked, right? I said I was watching my plants and I heard noises. And I moved close to the door. I didn't enter the store. Don't get me wrong, I didn't enter the store. And I saw Officer Smith and Tyler exchanging words. And just then, the cop prevented me from even proceeding from entering the store to get the full view of what was happening.
I'm sorry.
So from the store, I could see Officer Smith and Tyler exchanging words.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but once again, I have to refer to her statement to the police, where she said, entering the store, I saw the most awful incident of my life. And right now, she's saying she didn't enter into the store. So I see a lot of inconsistency.
Order. She has clarified the situation. She has answered to the best of her ability. Please, let's move on with the line of questioning.
Mrs. Crowley, how many gunshots did you hear?
I heard just one.
How did it sound?
Like a normal gunshot.
The ballistics reporter testified to a second bullet. How did the second bullet come about?
Well, I have no idea about the second bullet, but it will not be unusual because a robbery took place like just a week ago before the incident.
Did you report this robbery to the police? Because there's no record of this report in the police records.
I don't know where you got your facts from, but I did, I reported this robbery.
Mrs. Crowley, you said the other police officer was trying to prevent you. So you admit that your vision might have been impaired in some way with the struggle and the tussle.
Well, I don't have any impairments. It's just that it actually prevented me from having like a full view. It's not like my vision was impaired.
Does this lack of view have anything to do with your previous convictions?
No.
For the possession of firearms?
No.
Am I correct when I say that you have previous convictions?
Objection, Your Honor. Previous crimes are not admissible in this case.
Your Honor, this is relevant to the case. It's relevant to it has a connection with the second bullet. I'm trying to establish a link between.
I will allow you a little bit of leniency. It's okay, Councillor. You may ask the question, the witness will answer, but then you're going to move on.
Because your lack of knowledge, Does it have anything to do with your previous convictions for the unauthorized possession of firearms?
No, it doesn't.
Mrs. Crowley, you're saying that in fact it's true that you had previous convictions for the possession of firearms.
Councillor, it's already been asked and answered. I allowed you leniency. The question is now finished. Move on to different issues, please.
Is it true, Mrs. Crowley, that if you are found that you're right now on parole, that you were released on parole, and that if you right now break any of your parole rules, you return to jail?
Councillor, it's the same issue. I'm not going to allow previous convictions, issues of parole, to be the issue here.
You said your store was robbed.
Yeah.
We already established that. Why do you think your store was robbed? What do you think they were coming after?
Well, as a shop owner, like, it's not usual for people to think, I might have money, I might save for something. And besides, how am I supposed to ascertain the robbers' way of thinking?
So what happened? What did they take in these robberies? You said they were robberies. What did they take?
Well, I had breads in my store. They took like some alcoholic drinks, and fortunately, I did have like money in my safe then.
Was there money in your cash register?
Objection, my lord. The defense is really trying to confuse the question and asking a line of questions. They should ask questions that requires a specific answer and not breaking down the questions in ways that are going to waste their time in the court. Let the defense.
Your Honor, there's a difference between a cash register and a safe. She said there was no money in the safe, so I'm asking about the cash register that's usually at the counter of convenience
Explain
stores.
relevance to me. To the case at hand.
She said she had no money there, so I want to ascertain what these robberies could have been about and what can interest people to her store.
And she has answered that.
Mrs. Crowley, are you aware of what perjury is? It means lying under oath. Are you aware that it's a criminal offense punishable by incarceration?
Objection.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
So, Ms. Peters, would you mind to tell the court how, because you stated that you've been with Tyler, you've known Tyler for close to about how many years now?
About 6 years.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how intimate your relationship with Tyler?
Yeah, before I hired Tyler to be my shop attendant, I got to know Tyler because, like I said, we attended the same church. And Tyler was known to be a very happy kid, a very popular one at that. So I thought him to be a good kid that could help financially. So I hired him to be a shop attendant, like an irregular one.
Alright, so are you, from your statement, are you trying to say you're very close to Tyler and you consider Tyler a child?
Objection, Your Honor. Those questions been asked and answered before. Counsel can only ask questions in relation to the matters which are brought up during cross-examination.
Yeah, Your Honor, this question actually relates to the question raised by the defense in the cross-examination, because they asked the lady, the witness here, actually cared about Tyler, and that's why she tried to enter the store but was prevented by the officer. It was because of her care and the fact that this was a young kid that was in her assistance to help her in shop. She needed to show care to the
But
officer.
the relationship has already been asked and it has already been answered. There is no there is no need to address it again.
Okay, Ms. Peters, can you tell us about, you actually had previous case of weapons. Do you have any weapons in your store?
Of course I do have, but it's only accessible to me.
How is that?
Because for you to access the firearm of which you have license to carry, you need to have a thumbprint scan.
Like to interfere there. witness is on parole. She's not allowed to keep any weapons whatsoever in her premises.
If she can only be prevented from accessing weapons, if she's had maybe a criminal case for, or she's been in detention for 3 years, 3 months, and
She is currently on parole.
yeah, so she can only be denied the right to have license to weapons if she has been she has had a case that she has been in prison for less than 3 months. So in this case, she's not in parole for a case.
Councillors, I do not see the relevance of this line of argument, of this line of questioning. I want to leave the issue of parole and weapons relating to this witness to one side, and I want to focus on the case at hand. If you have any other questions relating to what she saw, because that is why a witness is here, yes?
That'll be all. She said all that she saw.
Okay.
It's true.
Okay, thank you. The witness is excused. Do you have any more witnesses?
No, just give everyone with the witness.
Okay, prosecution rests. Okay, it is now time for the defense to raise their case.
Your Honor, the prosecution has failed to fulfill the burden of proof. The evidence presented has failed to cross the threshold of guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the standard in every criminal offense, in every criminal case. The defense hereby asks for a direct acquittal.
The motion is denied. The court holds that the evidence presented by the prosecution is sufficient for the jury to consider. Councillor, at this point I wish to ask you whether you have advised your client that at this stage he is able to give evidence if he chooses to do so?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant has chosen not to give evidence in support of his defense. You cannot, however, use this to jump to conclusions that the defendant's silence proves the case against him. It does not. The defendant is entitled to remain silent. This is his right and his choice. The burden remains on the prosecution purely to prove its case. You must bear this in mind. I now ask that the defense calls its first witness.
The defense calls Chris Knight.
Okay, first he needs to be sworn in.
Please place your left hand here. Yes. And raise up your right hand. Please do repeat after me. I, Chris Knight,
I, Chris Knight,
do swear that
swear that
the evidence I shall give
the evidence I shall give
in this court, now pending in Cairnia, before the judge, Belkis Shahinalu, shall be the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Please can you state your name of expression?
My name is Officer Chris Knight. I'm a policeman.
Do you know Officer Smith?
Yeah, I do.
How long have you been working with him?
For 3 years.
Okay, were you on duty on the 13th of July 2013?
Yes, I was.
Ask your next question, Councillor.
Were you on patrol or at the station?
I was on patrol.
Were you alone?
No, I was not alone.
Please can you explain to the court what happened on patrol?
It was a very hot July summer afternoon when me and my partner, Mr. Smith, were on patrol, and then the drinks we had from the station were exhausted. So we opted for other drinks from a nearby shop.
Can you continue, please?
From the incident, my partner complained of being dehydrated. And I was also dehydrated. And so the best option for us was to stop by a nearby shop that was close to where we were to get the drink.
So what happened next after stopping at the nearby shop?
Now I was in the car and my partner went in the shop to get the drinks.
At that point, were you the only one in the vicinity?
Couldn't see everyone possibly, but from my outlook of the vicinity, I spot a lady who was watering flowers outside the shop that my partner went in.
Can you please continue?
Which I later discovered that the lady is a shop owner.
Okay, you were outside waiting for your partner. What happened next?
I had a radio dispatch from my partner that was requesting for a backup call. So in response to that, I left the car to attend to my partner. Now, on reaching to the entrance of the shop, the lady which I met outside was standing. The lady I met watching the flower was standing just in front of the shop, which I ordered her to stay away from the road. And of which she stood still.
Where was she standing?
Just outside the shop.
Okay, what happened next?
During the conversation, I had two distinctive gunshots, one preceding the other.
Officer, can you please, judging by your profession and expertise, can you please tell us a little bit about the guns? You said one was preceding the other.
Yeah.
How were they sounding like?
Now, as an authorized firearm officer, I can't possibly get the first sound. I can't really get the notes of the first sound, but for the second shot, I recognize it to be a police gun, which happens to be the second shot. Yeah, because we are familiar with such weapons.
So the first shot was not a police shot?
No.
Can you please describe your response and the other person's response to those shots?
My response as a reasonable policeman is that on hearing the gunshot, I told the lady standing outside to lay down flat as I rushed into the shop.
What was her response to it?
Well, she stood still even when I asked her to lay flat. So I couldn't wait for her to do anything because I was concerned about my partner. So I ran into the shop.
On entering the shop, what did you see?
I saw Mr. Smith, my partner, and I asked if he was okay. So he told me that the boy shot at him.
What did you do after then?
I told him to put himself together as it to be expected of me because he was in shock. So in order to prevent him from being in shock, I told him to put himself together.
So what happened?
He told me that the boy should have showed him his hands and then moved out of the counter. So what happened was that he rushed towards the boy. Now from that distance, I don't know that somebody was behind the counter. So he rushed towards the counter and then he was trying to help the boy, to resuscitate the boy.
Okay, after then, what did you do?
Well, as a reasonable policeman, I went around the shop to see that there's nothing, or there's nobody facing danger, or nobody's at risk.
You've been working with Officer Smith for 3 years.
Yes.
Can you please say something about his character, his professionalism?
He's a very, very commendable policeman, devoted to duty. and very committed.
Would you like to work with Officer Smith again?
Yes.
Thank you very much for that question.
Cross-examination. Try to get to the points as quick as possible. We are on a time limitation.
So, are you Officer Smith Dennis or Official Smith Dennis?
I'm not Officer Smith Dennis.
Okay, because
I'm Officer Chris.
I seem to hear you refer to yourself as an official, not an officer.
No.
So, on that very day, can you tell the court why you decided to go off patrol route? You stated in your claim that you decided to go off patrol route because you needed to.
It's irrelevant.
I believe that it's relevant to the question. Maybe
No, I wasn't done with my question.
So the witness can answer this line of question.
Okay. So, you're telling the court that on that day you were given a patrol route where you couldn't find any convenience store to get drinks from.
Yes.
So, and you had to, and could you tell the court the distance, as in how far off your patrol route you went on that day?
Not too long, but the estimation of the distance was not clear to me, so it was not relevant for me to estimate how far it will be, which was not so far from the designated route.
How personal are you with Officer Smith? Do you know him outside of work?
Yeah.
So, have you noticed him having shown any signs of racial bias?
Obviously, no.
No. Is it not the case, or was it not the case, that on that very day, you and Officer Smith, for one reason, decided to go off your patrol route, targeting that store? And is it not the case?
Objection, Your Honor, the witness is not on trial here.
It's not on trial.
No, it's not.
But
It's
you
here for
answer-
your evidence. You're accusing my witness.
The witness can answer the question.
It's expected of every policeman, and it's not evil or unlawful for a reasonable policeman to go out of a designated room to answer a necessity that is of nature. Both of us were dehydrated, so it's expected of every policeman to do such as I have done.
So, what was the nature of your duty on that very day?
We're on general patrol duty.
On a general patrol. But in the UK, we are made to understand that it's only in Ireland police officers were allowed to freely take firearms. That in England and in Wales, the only officers that are allowed to take firearms
Objection, Your
are
Honor.
on.
That's a misstatement of fact. Officers, there are 6,000 authorized, over 6,000 authorized firearms officers, and they do carry out arms on designated routes.
Designated routes.
Designated routes.
The witness said they were just on general patrol. They were not on any special duties. Officers in England are only allowed to carry firearms on special duties. Only officers that are maybe anti-terrorism officers, armed forces, armed force officers that are allowed to. He and Officer Smith were not on special duty.
That's a misstatement, Your Honor.
We will
On
let-
designated dangerous areas, officers do carry firearms.
Councillor, this has been mentioned to the jury. We will let the jury make this assessment for themselves. The only questions that you need to ask to your witness were, did he carry a firearm? Was he on his designated route? Do not stray far beyond the issues at hand.
Okay, so was it not the case, officer, that you you knew the intention that of your fellow officer, and you decided to prevent the shop owner from entering so that he could continue with his deed on that very day? What was your reason?
Let the witness answer the first question.
What was your reason for preventing Mr. Owner from
I didn't prevent the shop owner from entering the shop. If the shop owner wanted to enter the shop, she would have entered before me. But because I was on a duty and in response to the radio call I had, it's reasonable for a policeman to stop everybody to make sure that the vicinity is safe for the action to be carried. So I didn't stop any person unreasonably. But it was reasonable for me as a policeman to take action just as I did.
But the set of occurrences that happened makes us to believe that you and Officer Smith had the intention of causing...
Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is trying to imply that Officer Krishna here knew of Tyler's presence in the shop. There was no way of him knowing Tyler's presence in the shop, Your Honor.
State the question again.
Yes, Your Honor, because it has been stated, the witness, the sister of the deceased, stated that in an incident where Tyler was arrested, which he was released on that particular day, the deceased mentioned a certain officer that stood his ground and didn't want Tyler to be released on that very day. The sister also mentioned that in the TV, there was a certain police officer. We're trying to give a connection because this officer, the only reason why he shot Tyler on that day was because he had the intent.
Do not make inferences, Counsellor. Ask the question directly to the witness. The witness will respond accordingly. If it is negative, you move on.
So, when you entered the store, what was the first thing you did when you gained access to the store?
Is to look out for my partner, as is reasonable for this man to be on duty.
And the first question you asked was
if he was okay.
Why did you ask the question if he was okay?
I'm accountable to him as a policeman. And if I'm to make a report, I will be doing that on his behalf. So I'm answerable to him. So if you are accountable, or I am accountable to him.
So, you didn't ask what happened. You knew what was happening. That's why you asked first.
I don't know what was happening.
So why was your first question?
If he was
not why, what happened? Why was the first question why was the first question that asking him if he was okay and not what happened?
Now he called for help. So it's reasonable to ask him if he was okay. So if he calls for help, that means he may be in danger. So it's reasonable to ask him if he was okay.
So what did you do after you asked the question?
After I met him in shop, and when he rushed to the deceased, I tried to secure the place to make sure that properties and other persons are not being harmed.
So he was actually in shock.
Yeah.
That very time.
Yeah.
So he was in shock. He panicked.
Yes, he was in shock because he's a very committed policeman and devoted to duty with every credit of responsibility. So he was shocked at that moment. And
your reason for going around the store was not to check if there were any witnesses to his crime?
No, it's reasonable for every policeman at any scene to make sure that there is no other crime being committed, and then is to make sure that other people within the vicinity and properties are protected, as is the rule and the function of a policeman stated in the code of conduct of every policeman.
So you were not trying to in any way cover up his acts on that very day? Because we're made to understand that you asked him if he was okay.
Answer the question, yes or no?
Yes or no?
No.
So you actually asked him how he was, and then decided to go around and see if there was any witnesses to his crime.
No, not for witnesses.
For protection?
Yes, as a policeman.
Okay.
Redirect. Short and simple, please, to the point.
Officer, once again, can you please describe Officer Smith's character?
He's a very commendable policeman, devoted to duty, with a lot of passion. He's so passionate and loves to do his duty accurately and as is given to him.
Okay, would you say you will have intentionally killed a young boy?
Obviously, no. Somebody with this, a person with such personality and integrity will not do such acts.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Thank you. Please call your next witness. The witness is excused. Thank you very much.
The prosecution calls Officer Noel Bassett.
Officer Noel Bassett, please place your left hand near the raise of your right hand. Please repeat after me. I, Noel Bassett,
Quiet in the courtroom.
do swear that
You swear that
the evidence I shall give in this court
the evidence I shall give in this court
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me.
Good day, Officer Noel Bassett.
Good day.
I will inform you that this line of questioning is just to reiterate your testimony for the purpose of the jury and for the record.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Okay.
Please can you state your name and your occupation for the record?
Yeah, I am Officer Noel Bassett. It's new police officer.
And how long have you been a police officer?
For about 13 years now.
Have you worked all these 13 years in the present division that you're in right now?
Yeah.
So can you state the population of Africans in your precinct?
There are a good number of them. A good number of the Africans.
So the usual police station, a good population of non-living Africans. So you're an African yourself, so if Officer Smith was racially biased, you would have known.
Of course I will.
You're in a good position to know. What was your relationship with Officer Smith?
Actually, I was his training officer for a period of 6 months.
How long ago was this?
3 years ago.
Good. So tell me, during this time, what can you say about his character?
Actually, Officer Smith was a straightforward officer. He took his job very, very serious, and he was not in the habit of committing when he went into business.
Please, could you speak up again for everybody to hear you?
He was very straightforward, and whenever the rules is not clear to him, he would ask questions.
So you would say he was of good conduct?
Yes, of course.
And you enjoyed being a training officer, you liked him as a training officer,
Yeah,
he was good?
Yeah, he did very good.
So, what was your relationship with Officer Smith apart from this? Was he also a friend?
Yeah, he was a very close friend.
So you knew him very well?
Yeah.
What was he like? What was his character?
Like I said before, he's very straightforward. And areas where the law may not be clear to him, he will ask questions.
Did you ever hear him make any racial statements?
Not at all.
Never?
Not at all.
Not even on one occasion?
All the period I was his training officer, he never made any racial statement.
Where were you on the afternoon of the 9th of July 2013?
On the 9th of July 2013, I was at the station.
Did anything unusual happen on that day?
Yeah. Actually, I received, I heard from the dispatch that an incident was taking place at Mrs. Crown's store. So the location was given, and I went down there.
So what happened when you got there? What did you find?
When I got there, the deceased was about to be taken to the hospital, like the emergency service team.
And where was Officer Smith at that time?
He was already seated at one of the squad cars.
So what did you find when you went in?
It was the usual robbery scene. Money scattered all over the place, fired and unfired shell cases, and so on.
So the IPCC had not arrived as at this time?
No, they hadn't. In fact, the detective
Barbara and I decided to have a look around, but we didn't have enough time before the IPCC came in and sent us out.
So you know about the IPCC report, yeah?
Yeah.
So how long did it take them to come up with this?
It actually took them less than a week, and this is so unusual. They came up with their investigation conclusion, which states that Officer Smith shooting of the deceased was wrongful and racially instigated.
So how long does it usually take them to come up with this kind of report in the case of this gravity?
Yeah, in the case of this gravity, it usually takes longer than this, approximately 7 weeks.
So what was done about this? Did you report this to your superiors? Did anything happen after this?
I was concerned about the hastiness of these findings. So I actually discussed with some colleagues, and we went with our own detective to make sure nothing was left unchecked.
Was this authorized?
Yeah, our superiors, they are aware of it.
Okay.
They didn't object.
So was this you said you went back to the crime scene.
Yeah.
Was this beneficial? Did you learn anything you didn't know before?
Actually, when we went there, Officer Smith had to walk us through the place one more time, and gradually he explained to us everything that happened. Based on what he smelled with his nose and what he had with his ears, we were able to know where and where to look for the possible second bullet.
So you were able to find the second bullet, am I correct?
Yeah, we found the second bullet, but not the second one.
Did you touch the second bullet? Did you have any contact with it?
I know the rules, I didn't. I informed the forensic department and they came out.
Did you see them taking it?
Yeah, I saw them taking it away and sealed evidence back.
Just one question. Did you ever see an Officer Dennis?
Officer Dennis.
Did you ever know
I
Officer
usually
Dennis?
see him in the police station, but I think he kept a lot to himself.
Didn't socialize it.
Yeah,
No further questions, Your Honor.
You have to know of that. So, and you said you worked as a training officer, was a police officer for 13 years.
Yeah.
And how long did you say you've known the defense in this case, defendant in this case?
Like I said before,
Yeah.
I was his training officer
For how long?
for a period of 6 months.
6 months. Okay, 2 years ago. So 3 years ago, you've known Officer Smith for the past 3 years. Okay. And you said what's your personal relation? How related are you guys, or how close?
We're very close.
Very close.
Close friends.
Did you, by any chance, have any romantic relationship with them?
Not at all. We're just close friends. That's all.
Okay.
Order in court.
So, okay. How many people have you killed in the line of duty?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? How many? Okay, now, are you sure would you be sure on the number of black people you've killed in the
Objection, no, I don't see any relevance with the testimony and the reason why my witness is here today.
Yeah, we prosecuting believe that the training officer must have had a personal relationship, and that's why they're trying to cover up something, the truth, and hide the truth. And for this reason, we are asking these questions to clarify such.
But the witness has already attested to the fact that there is no personal relationship. The objection is sustained. Please ask another question.
Okay. Okay, you claim you've never noticed Officer Smith show any racial traits?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. In a case of an officer in a terrorist scene, as in the terrorist scene.
This is irrelevant.
I have not asked my question, Your Honor.
Terrorism Act.
I have not asked my question. There's a lead to my question. Okay.
There is a link,
There's a lead, yeah, to my question.
Okay, I will allow it.
Okay. In a case of an officer in the terrorist scene, and inside, deep down the officer, he's supposed to show, maybe deep down, inwardly, he's scared. In that scenario, in that case, or in that, listen, what should be the outward feeling or demeanor of an officer in a terrorist scene?
Objection, Your Honor. My client has already rightly stated that that Officer Smith was in the squad car as at the time she came into the crime scene. So my learned colleague here is evidently trying to mislead my client, my witness.
In a terrorism scenario, Your Honor, special forces are employed and not Air Force. I draw that fact to the attention of the council.
Your Honor.
Please get to the point.
Okay, Your Honor, it is being stated that police officers are being trained to be able to handle any sort of situation or crime they find themselves in. And even if they are scared, they are supposed to act calm.
Then rephrase your question in this manner and ask it directly to the witness.
So in that case, is it true or can it be said that an officer in a situation is to pretend and not show his inward feeling, but show boldness and calm in such cases?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
No, I'm saying, what I'm telling you is that an officer is being trained to show outward calm and boldness when faced with any situation. So can it be the case, or is it not the case that an officer is trained to pretend?
Like I said before, I don't think Officer Smith sacrificed the life of the man just so.
Okay, so while training Officer Smith for 3 months, don't you think as officers who are being trained to pretend and not show their inward feeling, but exude calmness that he has been pretending and hiding his racial bias?
I don't think so, because I was in a very good position to know of that. Because I'm a black and he's white.
Okay,
So,
and you're closely related to him. Thank you very much. So you claim in your statement that you were at the crime scene before the IPCC came. True, of course. You were at the crime scene before the IPCC came.
I said so.
Okay. And even went to the crime scene after the IPCC investigation. You went to the crime scene after the investigation done by the IPCC. You revisited the crime scene.
Yeah.
And it was in this revisitation that you came with a report of another bullet. Right. Okay. After you revisited the crime scene and after the IPCC had made their claim. Okay. Would you also like to tell the court? So, how is it possible that the IPCC, who combed through the crime scene, came out with the judgment, and you officers who had invested interest, because you have close relations with the two officers.
Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. My learned colleague here is suggesting that my client will know what is going on in the mind of the IPCC, and it's no fault of hers that they conducted an investigation in less than 1 week.
Your Honor, the IPCC is an independent body, and they are made up of police officers trained in carrying out such investigation, and the IPCC has been in existence. The IPCC combed through the crime scene, gave the bullets to the coroner, and it was an express and easy decision being made by the IPCC. But in this case, you have the training officer and other officers that have invested interest in the matter in trying to frame up this case or in trying to give the defendant a plea of self-defense, bringing up evidence after the investigation.
I will overrule the objection. You must get to the point. The witness will answer this question.
So how can you tell the court that a group of independent police officers come to the crime scene and made its finding, and a team of officers, because you went through the crime scene after the IPCC report, actually think Officer Smith should go scot-free, and you made evidence, or you brought out evidence of bullets and evidence of a second or whatever in order to prove self-defense. How is that? How is that?
Your Honor, my objection, Your
What is
Honor,
the
the
question?
crime has already been established. There was, the other witnesses testified that there was a second bullet.
Which other
What
evidence?
is your, 1 second, what is the aim of the question? You are asking her why she...
The interest,
believes that it is-
their interest in the case. Her interest in the case.
Your Honor,
She has already answered this question though. She has, it was because of concern.
It was because of concern.
That is what she said.
All right, Your
Okay,
Honor.
so we need to move on with the line of question.
That'll be all.
Rita,
No, Your Honor.
do you have any witnesses?
Yeah, one more witness.
Okay, so we should excuse.
Finally, the defense would like to call Detective Barbara Smith. Barbara James.
Quiet, please.
Can you place your left hand on your wrist of your right hand? Please repeat after me. I, Papa James,
I, Barbara James,
do swear that
do swear that
the evidence
the evidence
I shall give in this court
in this
shall be the whole truth
shall be the whole
and nothing but the truth.
and not the
So help me God.
can you please state your occupation?
Barbara James, police detective.
How long have you been a policeman?
18 years in total, 12 years as a detective.
Okay. How well do you know officers?
I know him well enough for 4 years. We did work together, some policeman.
Okay. You did work with him on other police matters?
Yes, sure.
Okay. How do you describe his professionalism as a police officer?
He was outstanding police officer and he was always treating the suspects and acting by the book.
Always.
Always.
Thank you. Have you ever witnessed him making prejudicial statements or treating some suspects differently?
No, never.
Have you ever witnessed him treating Africans differently or with bias?
No, never.
Okay. Where were you on the incident day of 9th of July?
I was at the station.
You were at this station?
Yes.
Okay. Please tell the court how you were called the incident.
Yes, I heard the police radio that there was an incident taking place at the store, so we rushed to help.
We rushed to help. Were there other police officers?
Yes,
with
I
you?
was with 3 detectives.
3 detectives. And how did you get there? I presume. How did you get there with the 3 other detectives?
I picked up by the car.
By car. Please tell the court what have you seen, what you have seen as you entered the store.
Okay. By the time I got there, I saw the young man was about to be taken to the hospital. So I went to the store. I looked behind the counter. I saw the drawers looked like somebody had snapped it. And I saw the money locker was open and scattered. And I saw some shell casings. So I was about to check these shell casings, but I didn't have a chance to check it because the IBCC inspectors come and ordered us to be out.
Can you name any of the other 3 police officers who were with you?
It was with me non-based officers. Was
Okay. And you mentioned that the money box was open
Was
and
open.
money was scattered all around.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything else?
Yes, I saw some items was laying around. and some cupboards what was underneath the counter.
Underneath the cupboards. How were the cupboards?
It looks like messy, something like has nothing here.
I see. Okay, so looked like someone had gone through them and. Did you have any conversation with Officer Smith?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Where was Officer Smith by the time?
He was out in the squad car waiting for the IPCC.
Were you carrying a gun that day yourself?
No.
You weren't carrying a gun?
No.
Okay, but Officer Smith was carrying a gun?
Yes.
And he was he authorized to carry that gun?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
As you entered the store, you mentioned that you saw a counter. How long was this counter? Can you explain to us?
Between 4 and 5 meters.
Between 4 and 5 meters?
Yeah.
Okay. And in your opinion, how many people could hide behind this counter without being seen from where Officer Smith was?
The 3 people could hide easily.
Okay. And what was the height of this counter? The height?
It was about a meter.
About a meter, okay. Did you notice any other doors or fire exits or loading bays in the store?
Yeah, I noticed the second door was on the side of the counter.
On the side of the counter? In front or behind?
No, it's behind.
Behind the counter there was another door. Okay. From where Officer Smith was standing, was it possible for him to see anyone behind the counter who was perhaps hiding?
No, it's not.
How was the counter? What was it made of? Was it made of wood or metal? What was it made of?
I can't remember. I think it was wood.
Okay, so you couldn't see what was behind. In other words, it wasn't transparent.
It wasn't transparent.
Okay. You mentioned that you saw some shell casings behind the counter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were these shell casings from a used gun or were they unfired?
There was fired shell casings and unfired shell casings.
Okay. How many shell casings did you count?
I don't recall, but I think it was about 5.
Okay. Can you recall the caliber of these?
They look like 7 or 65 millimeter.
Okay, but the official bullets used in the Glock 17, which Officer Smith was carrying, is 9 millimeters. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you collect these shell casings as evidence?
No, I believe it was collected by the IPCC.
Okay, it was collected by the IPCC. Okay. Have you seen the IPCC report?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Have the IPCC people interviewed you?
No, I didn't.
Isn't it usual practice for them to interview all present at the incident?
Yes, it is, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Have you been to this place ever again since that day?
No.
Okay. What do you think has happened that day, in your own opinion?
I think maybe there was compliance with the timer, so maybe he just took maybe the second turn and he just did for the second door. So I think it's possible.
So it is quite possible that Tyler had an accomplice and that he was hiding behind the counter or was searching for something.
Objection, Your opinions are not admissible as evidence since he's not an expert in what was going on behind the counter.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Was Officer Smith your partner? When you're being examined, you claim that, do you see any detective things in the shop when you came?
I don't recall. I don't recall.
Were this statement made by you? Now you claim that there's another door. But in this statement, there was not like that. Can you demystify for this court why you counter your statement?
Yeah, I saw there was second door.
But in your first statement, it was not written.
Objection, Your Honor. My learned colleague here is trying to suggest that my client is countering what he said. He didn't counter what he said. He wasn't asked by the police when he was given the statement as to these facts, and these facts were sorted when he wasn't interviewed.
What time was it? What was the time period after the crime, and when you came?
I can't remember what it was afternoon. I can't remember the time.
You can't remember the time period?
That I came?
Yeah, how do you know that the crime has been?
I had on the police told you that there was an incident taking place at the store, so we rushed to help.
Can you tell the Honorable Court the time police called you and the time you arrived at the scene?
It was at, I'll be there around 5 minutes I got there.
Huh?
5 minutes I got there.
Like 5 minutes. And you said when you came there, everywhere was scattered.
Yeah, when I went to there, when I saw there behind the door, I saw some doors that was constructed. The money lock was over scattered.
Okay, my own is the first.
Okay. Can you be direct?
No.
Okay, you said your question.
But this will be made aware to the jury. Is there a determination?
All right. We now have closing statements. I want to limit you to 5 minutes each to your closing statements. Please stick to the main points that you wish to address, and then the jury needs to deliberate on this matter. Okay? We will start with the defense. The witness is excused. Thank you. Last one to call the witness.
Yeah.
Is the first one.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I'm Kodi Albert, lead counsel for the defense. Guilty. It's in fact easier for us to pronounce this verdict on a party which we assume to be the weaker party, and leave to pronounce this kind of verdict on the party which seems to be the stronger party, leaving the seemingly weaker party to go scot-free. It's important to remember that this is not about giving a sentimental verdict, but one which is based on facts, one which is right according to the law. Need I remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that we are not just dealing with an officer of the law here, but a young man whose life is now at your mercy. One who is not just scared of what your outcome will be, but one whose life will be either worse or better following your verdict. Either way, my client is scarred for life, as it's not every day that one is forced to shoot a man on the line of duty. This man could be your brother. This man could be your friend. This man could be your nephew or any of your loved ones. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to think about this. My colleagues and I haven't insulted this honorable court by bringing you a case based purely on suspicions and sentiments. We presented you facts and clear-cut evidence. First of all, we must understand that for a criminal offense to have been committed, 2 elements must be present. Actus reus being the guilty act, and mens rea being the mental element of the crime. You have to have malice and forethought and all those other things. I wouldn't go into too much detail. The prosecution claims that my client has acted in violation of Section 117 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1988, which is available if you need to see. Meanwhile, the same act provides that a policeman can use reasonable force for self-defense defense of another, defense of property, prevention of a crime, and during a lawful arrest. This was affirmed in a case which is almost similar to this, which is Bedford versus the Queen, 1988, where the appellant, a police officer, the appellant was a police officer, and he was issued a shotgun and ammunition and sent with a number of other armed policemen to a house. And this is a case, Bedford versus the Queen. According to the appellant, a report had been received from a lady that her brother was terrorizing her mother and that he was in possession of a gun. However, when the police came to her house, she denied that this ever happened. And the appellant, that's the police officer, said that when he arrived at the house, he saw a young man running away and that this man possessed a gun. And he shot at this man. Now I'm going to read a quote from what the trial judge said. A man who is attacked in circumstances where he reasonably believes to be in danger, but that is in danger of serious bodily injury, may use such force as on reasonable grounds he thinks necessary in order to resist the attack. And if he uses such force, he kills his assailant. The judge said he is not guilty of any crime, even if this killing is intentional. Following this judgment, reasonable force in a scenario such as this, where shots were exchanged, is to shoot back. Let's not forget that my client is an authorized firearms officer whose primary duty is to uphold the law and protect the lives of others and property. And also that my client only drew his gun when Mr. Jacobs did not do as he was instructed and put his hand down behind the counter as if to pick up something. My client acted purely in self-defense and in the way he thought best given the circumstances. All he asked was that Mr. Jacobs show me his hands and step out from behind the counter. Was this too much to ask? Looking at the way the counter should have been, my client was limited in where he could have shot. You can't shoot the legs if you're standing behind the counter. You can only shoot from here upwards. Also, the prosecution claims that my client has acted in racial prejudice and therefore in violation of Article 14 of the Human Rights Act. Your Honor, if I may be so bold, I must say that this is a very ridiculous claim. What was my client supposed to do in these circumstances? I must remind you that my client is a policeman and is obligated to act by statute on his suspicions. In fact, 90% of my client's job is based on his suspicions and instincts. It's the duty of prosecution to prove my client guilty of their claims. And since they have failed to prove the presence of racial bias on my client's part, I will not waste any more of your time on this. Thirdly, the prosecution claims that the patrol route taken was unauthorized and intentional. Outrageous! Intentional? Isn't it normal for you to want to stop by a convenience store to get a drink? The prosecution is assuming that my client is not human and on a hot afternoon wouldn't want to drink. Also, the prosecution claims that my client violated Article 2 of the Human Rights Act 1988, which prohibits the deprivation of life. This article gives the right to life. And there are two exceptions under which the right to life may be deprived of a person. First of all, in self-defense or defense of any person from unlawful violence. Secondly, in order to effect a lawful arrest or to prevent the escape of a person lawfully detained. There's an exhibit. I wouldn't show you that because we're constrained by time. Prima facie, it's apparent that the prosecution has based its whole argument on the so-called IPCC report. Where is this report, if I may ask? The report that left out a finding as important as the second bullet, which the ballistics reporter has so rightly stated existed, and which the prosecution left out totally from their arguments. A report that has left out a finding as serious as this bullet, as though it didn't exist, probably thinking that if they ignored it, it would evaporate into thin air. A report that was concluded in less than a week. A report that clearly has no respect for the truth. A report for an investigation gladly concluded before every end was tied. Surely, the findings of such a report shouldn't be a topic of discussion in the case of this gravity. The defense has been able to produce evidence to support all the defenses, giving you witnesses. They said we didn't have an expert witness, but which witness is more which witness can better attest to the crime scene than a police officer who has done this for over 13 years? Their story is obviously weak and based on facts which we've proven to be untrue. They brought witnesses who were disgruntled, in no mental state, to even give testimonies before this court. Witnesses who couldn't even support and who couldn't even defend what they had said in cross-examination. Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecution has not been able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that my client is guilty. The prosecution has still not been able to convince this court of that. For a crime as serious as murder, with the evidence that the defense has been able to put forth, I hope you agree with me, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that this case should never have been brought to trial. I trust fully in the ability of this court to give a fair and unbiased judgment according to the law, and hopefully, as the Latin maxim, res ipsa loquitur says, I believe the facts have spoken for themselves. Finally, I'd like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that if there is but one reasonable doubt in your minds, in your hearts, that my client is guilty of murder, it is your sworn duty to acquit my client. I hereby ask for an acquittal. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Before I go to the cross of my closing statement, permit me to rephrase what my leading counsel said when he gave his democratic carom. That it's supposed to be duty of a police officer to take care of the citizens. They are supposed to be the custos moral of the people and the superintendent over umbrages, consuls go small. They have now engaged, now find himself engaging himself in a macabre dance, killing innocent people. I have, before I start, now there are three things that forms a crime. For somebody to be called a criminal, three things must be present. First, menstrual. And menstrual has a three element, which we've proven to be correct. One of them is intention. Now, a police officer has his own jurisdiction. This one left his own jurisdiction where he's supposed to oversee, just to look for innocent citizen to kill him. My learned counsel proved a self-defense. My lord, according to section 2 of the Human Rights Act, everybody has his own right to life, and this victim right was taken indiscriminately. That defense is not available to this defendant. For him to succeed in that self-defense, he must be reasonable in acting in that circumstances. And in these circumstances, he was not reasonable. The victim was not harmed. He was an innocent person, walking, and he just came because of the intention. He has the animus necandi, the intention to kill. Entered into the shop in that hot afternoon, shot him direct, without anything, without reason for doing that. So that defense is not available, because that article, if I must read that ipsis my verba, and so section 3 of the Criminal Law Act 1966 is equally to that defense. That section, if I must read it, says a person may use force as is reasonable in the circumstances in prevention of crime, or in effecting or assisting in lawful arrest or offenders, or suspected offender, or of a person unlawfully at large. If he claimed self-defense as he has claimed, it's excessive, and the law did not permit it. So that self-defense he claimed is irrelevant, and it's not proportional. The question of proportionality here arises in the 2008 Act. Section 76, sub 6, make it crystal clear that the degree of force used by a person is not to be regarded as having been reasonable in the circumstances as believed them to be if it was appropriate in that circumstances. My lord, the victim wasn't with anything. So the use of that self-defense is not appropriate. So the law does not approve it as you claim in your defense. The case, the previous principle was laid down in the case of Palmer versus Aaron. In that case, his lordship stated, Obita, he said it's a good law and good sense that a man who is attacked may defend himself. It is both good law and good sense that he may do, but only do what is reasonable. In this situation, it wasn't reasonable. Again, the case of Hartridge, 1991, is equal to this effect. It says, where it was held that one of the matter which needed to be determined by the court was whether the accused response was commensurate with the degree of danger created by the attacker, by the attack. So in this case, nothing like that. The common law approach has also expressed in Palmer versus Aaron. This is also relevant as section 3 of Criminal Law Act 1966 also stated that the person may use that reasonable force. This force wasn't reasonable. Now my co-counsel has also raised the defense. As a police officer, you are trained to use gun and you are trained to go along with gun. This is stated in the Police Act, section 117, 1984. Now that the policeman can use a force, and that force must be commensurate with that of the attacker. In this situation, it wasn't like that. The force was very excessive. So that claim is countered. Again, Article 2, which I will read, which you rely on, that you have the right to take life. The article says, everyone has rights to life and shall be protected by law. No one shall be deprived of his life intentionally, save in the execution of sentence of court following his convention of crime, for which the penalty is provided by law. Deprivation of life shall deprivation of life shall not be regarded as inflicted in contravention of this article when it results from the use of force, which is no more than absolutely necessary. That the use of that force in this situation is not absolutely necessary. As you claim. The case of McCain versus UK, the court said that an accused need to have good ground to use force. Also in Aaron versus Martin, in that case, Tony Martin lived alone on an isolated farm called Bleak House. The farm and surrounding building were dilapidated and appeared to be derelict. Consequently, the farm was subject to numerous break-in. On the night of August 20, 1999, Freddie Barras, a 16-year-old, and Brenda Farrell broke into the farm. Tony Brack, armed with a 12-bore shotgun, went downstairs and fired indiscriminately at where he thought the disturbance came from. He shot both the intruder, killing Barras by a gun wound to the back. At his trial, he pleaded the self-defense, just like my opponent has proved. And the court held that the plea of self-defense will be rejected. My lord, the act was indiscriminatory. He did that intentionally to go and kill the victim. He has the menstrual, he has intention. The action was premeditated. They premeditated it before they go. His co-colleagues waited outside just to allow him to commit the crime. And he committed the crime with intention, which is the menstrual. It was present at that particular time. That's why he shot him directly at the chest. The whole police officer trained. Then another part of the body, the arm is here, everywhere is present. He shot direct at the heart. That's an intention to kill. He has the animals they can be. And as a police officer, he has the casus moral and superintendent over umbrages, conscious goes more, to protect the citizen. And he refrained from that. This act is unlawful. I hereby tell the court that this victim should go unpunished. Otherwise, to create a flogging, police officer will be going about killing innocent people and allow section, which is not available to them. So I want the jury to please treat this case with a good cause. Okay. Following this claim, I believe my colleagues and I have proven our case beyond a reasonable doubt that the killer has the intention, has the animals they can be, to commit this said crime. And therefore, we demand the following: that Officer Smith is found guilty of murder in the first degree. That the maximum sentence befitting the crime he is being accused of be awarded. That he not only be suspended for as long as this trial will last, but following the verdict, whatever it may be completely stripped off his badge as a police officer and not be allowed to serve in the capacity involving protection throughout his lifetime. This is my logo marquee, and my logo marquee I made without logo fascia. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, quiet, order. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's now time to proceed to the deliberation room. You need to deliberate on the case at hand, and you need to return with the verdict relating to all counts. I ask that the clerk takes you out to the deliberation room, and you return in 5 minutes with your verdict.